So the guidelines are just a picture of the veg type and then the simple fire regime and just some notes. So anywhere there's a particular woody weed issue or a native species starting to expand, like in this country in the south, probably some cypress thickening is another one. We throw that in as a bit of a recipe. These are some things you can do to disadvantage that cypress occurring. And a lot of the cypress country is naturally occurring, has always occurred, but in particularly dry times it tends to expand. So we tend to throw them in. One fire event on its own is probably not as apocalyptic as people would think. So if you get it wrong from a primary production point of view and you burn the wrong time and your grass doesn't recover, that's got some economic outcomes. The same fire will have disadvantaged some of your biodiversity, so particularly a lot of your soil microzomials, so your termites and the stuff that make the air holes in the ground, so when it does rain it can get good soil moisture. So one fire event, whilst it's not something you set out to achieve, if you go wrong with one fire event, you should be able to learn from that as to not to be able to put the next fire event in. So that's really what we do with the simple guidelines, and what we see is, and it's an old forestry saying, fire doesn't recognise fence lines or best intentions. So it doesn't matter what you were going to do in a dry October, November when the fire is coming along the ridgeline. If you haven't done it, you haven't got it. It's really as simple as that. So it's about planning, and at the end of most wet seasons, you understand what rain you've got, what grass you're going to have, or what forest fuel loading you're going to have come the next season for the forest country. So you should be able to make your decisions then as to whether you need to have a system of fire breaks, or are you going to fatten those fire breaks with a controlled burn to give you a bit wider fuel reduced area to stop fire leaving your land or entering your land. So it's those planning elements, but we really see fire sits in the landscape. So what we try to do by developing guidelines, whether you're growing conservation values, whether you're growing cattle, whether you're growing sheep, whatever your interest in having your land, even if it's a lifestyle choice, just to have the buffers, you need to plan for fire when you don't want it, and that's that late dry season fire. And we see that as beyond an individual's property, so that's why we put the guidelines out so that the different land users can come together for their brigade area or their community area, look at a map and decide what they're going to do for the season, and they don't have to defend or explain their land use, so that the grazier doesn't have to defend that his use of fire in his pasture management is still a good thing to the people who've got conservation values and vice versa. So we see it as a landscape level, and it should be simple. And I mean, to me, fire plans should be certainly under 10 pages.